I'm playing, so I figured I'd talk about it, and sort of did it a little bit spontaneously, a little later than usual, because even with a small slate, there's so much news. At least most of it's come in, but we haven't really updated the projections yet. So I'll give people a minute to sort of get in. I'm just double checking that there's not any more Q tags that I haven't missed. I haven't seen any more. Let me just make sure. Oh, Luke Travers, that's not very relevant, although this is a very shorthanded Cleveland team. Let's see, nothing on Chicago. We do have Trey Jones and who is it? Trey Jones. There's so many different pieces of news I saw today. So, it's Trey Jones, yeah, and Dosunmu are supposedly going to play 24 minutes each. That's what my last thing said. They'll be limited to 24 minutes, said Billy Donovan. Yeah. Just going through it, see if there's anything else that I missed, because I am just getting back and I wanted to do this, and then I'll update everybody, my exposures and all that in the Discord. All right, I think we've got most of it, but I'm waiting for one more run of updates because I don't feel like this run is quite accurate. I guess we still have Davion Mitchell questionable, which is actually pretty relevant considering how many guys are out for the Heat. So any questions or thoughts, feel free to drop them on in. I'm going to go through these games and just see what I like and go from that. There's an update of projections. Okay. It's still not going to probably be accurate, but I'm going to start at the back. I'm just going to start with these later two games first because there's less there. I like Jalen Johnson again. Unfortunately, tonight everybody does. It was a great play last night that nobody played, and I still like him on this back-to-back, and I will probably be right around the field again. Ignore the exposures. Those were from early in the day. I'll rebuild things in a bit, but I think I'm going to get to these guys anyway. I actually think this projection might be a little low for how good Jalen Johnson's been. He's my favorite piece, obviously, from Atlanta. I do think you want to get some exposure to Nickeil Alexander-Walker and Okongwu. I like Dyson Daniels. I always like him a little bit better than most people do. I'm not going to overly force him in. Early in the day, Azanul looked like an actual play. I don't think that's a real thing anymore. Let me just go to this second build because I did have some things noted on the first build. All right, I'll just do this again one time. Oops, dude, where was I? Where was I? All right, I guess I was on. All right. I like Dylan Harper tonight, obviously. So I'm a little surprised that Wembanyama is playing tonight, if I was going to be completely honest. On the back-to-back, I don't think they're going to play him a ton of minutes, but I'm just a little bit surprised. I know it's just, again, it is what it is. I like Dylan Harper a little bit. I like Devin Vassell a little bit. I think these are very reasonable prices. And I don't think we're going to get a ton of Wemby minutes tonight, regardless of score. I just can't imagine they would. Just double checking here that whether there's anybody in here. All right, Cleveland. Yeah, with no Mitchell, no Mobley, no Porter Jr. I think these projections are off a little bit. I do think that we're going to talk about Tomlin as a play. Not the most exciting one usually, but there's really not that much other creation. Lonzo Ball, I think, is a better play even than is currently being projected. Darius Garland, I don't want to say must-have, but it's really hard to argue against basically everybody on Cleveland. I think this is where you're getting most of your exposure tonight. And I'm still debating. I want to see a starting lineup before I commit to anything. But I will probably be I don't want to say I'm overweight, but I'll be higher than these current projections are on the Cleveland side, because I think this game can stay close. And with the limited minutes out of Jones and Dosunmu, the thing is they're both back, so it does take away a little bit from Kobe White and Giddey. But I'm still kind of interested in Giddey here. I'm mildly interested in Vooch, but I'm more interested in Giddey. So that's one I'm going to have to think about. As of right now, I'm going to sort of see what it gives me, wait for some things to catch up and update, and go from there. We have the Knicks actually have their guys back here tonight. If this game was in Philly, you know me, I love to play the Knicks guys, the Nova guys back in Philly. But at these prices, I just think this is almost like a cross off for me on a small slate. Now, to take a shot on a low-owned Karl Anthony Towns is kind of appealing. I also think Brunson, even on the back-to-back after the game winner, all that stuff, I'm a little interested in Brunson and Towns, the fact that people aren't going to be playing them, and we have value, and who are we going to be spending it on? That's really the question. So no Embiid tonight. Obviously, Watford has been out, and Oubre. I like Paul George. I like Tyrese Maxey, and that's pretty much where I have Philadelphia right now. I think if you were going to take a shot at something in this game, it would be Edgecombe, then Grimes for me. But I think they're both kind of interesting. Let's see what we get after we run this build. Haven't tweaked anything major. Jaylen Brown, he's another spend up thing that we can actually do. I think because the pace that Miami plays with, I think everybody from Boston makes some sense. I worry a little bit about a blowout for this back-to-back for Miami, and I'll get into why and when I talk about the Miami side. But for me personally, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, then Peyton Pritchard. That's the order I've got them, the three of them. Nothing shocking there, but that's where I'm at. Look, we still don't know about Davion Mitchell. We do know no Wiggins. We do know no Jovic. We do know no Larson. We do know no Hero. Assuming they start Khalil Ware again, I cannot see why we're not going to be like 75%, maybe higher on Khalil Ware. That's where I'm going to be. We also have Hawkes. The interesting part you could do here to me is if you do think this game is going to stay close, we already mentioned some good pieces from the Boston side. I'm a little bit interested in the idea, and I'm thinking about this for my big buy-in. Can I maybe play Ware, Hawkes? And it's not that it's going to change everything, but if you play I hope the game stays close. The one guy here, I just think an unowned Bam on a 4-gamer is kind of appealing here to me. So I think Bam is your tournament play here. We'll see what happens with Davion Mitchell. I think Davion Mitchell's a good play if he does play. But if he's out, then again, Drew Smith already looks like a good play. Drew Smith's going to look like a much better play. Norman Powell's going to look even better. And then you just got to tell yourself a story that the game stays close. Totally reasonable to do so. As of right now, we'll just see. I'm just going to do this because I have to get the builds going, and this is obviously DraftKings. Let's see if we have anything that we can figure out. Let's see what SaberSim's going to give us without really touching much early in the day. All right, I'm just double checking that nothing else came in. Did not. I was pissed last night. Obviously, I'm a Rams fan. I don't know how they lost that game. In fact, I would say this. I don't know how the Rams lost any of the 4 games they lost. I really don't. The closest one that made some sense was Carolina just having an outlier good performance, but I really don't know how they lost that game earlier in the season to the Niners on that Thursday. 2 of their losses being on Thursdays too is kind of weird. And I still think it's the best team in football, but it's going to be really hard going in as the 5 seed versus the 2, and they still have a chance, but it's not that pretty. All right, let's run the Sims and sort of see where we're at. But yeah, that kind of took the wind out of my sails a little bit. Not to mention, with about 7 minutes to go in the fourth quarter, it looked like I was going to crush. I had all the cool plays. I was loaded up on Terrence Ferguson. I talked about that yesterday. I was loaded up on. I said I'd like to have at least like one of the Rams tight ends everywhere. And obviously, no matter what, we're going to get 1,000,000% Nakua and what's his name who got there at the end, Smith and Jigba, who I was a little bit below the field on, but I still had a bunch of it. Let's just see where we ended up. I just thought it was going to be a really good night, both for the Rams for personal rooting interest and for reality. All right, so this is what we're getting right now. I'm gonna probably this projection on Garland is a little ambitious. I'm probably going to pull that down a little bit, but I'm still probably going to end up with 60% of it or somewhere in that range. Playing at home against Chicago is like the nuts, and without Mitchell especially, but all the Mobley also and the rest of the guys they're missing, I just feel like you're going to be Cleveland heavy. You're going to be, let's see who's not getting played. You'll sort of go by teams. Yeah, so they've got it basically how I did. That's the order I like it: Brown, White, Pritchard. Where obviously almost very, very difficult to justify a fade, assuming he starts. This Drew Smith might end up being a much more of a play later in the day. I'm going to force in the Bam thing. I think it makes sense, and I think that on a 4-game slate, that is something I can do to get different. So I'm kind of interested in that. Not getting to a ton of Maxey and George. This Maxey projection feels a bit low to me. I think Maxey is another one. So I'm going to make some notes here. Let's put Maxey. These are not, we don't have the major differentiators, but Maxey and Bam are 2 differentiators that I think can help us, get a little bit unique on this slate. And I would put Cat and Brunson both in the same category. Maybe Cat with a little bit of a boost because he didn't play last night. I'll put Cat on that list as well, but more interested in the Bam and Maxey at the moment. Then Giddey right above the field. I don't mind that. Not getting into a ton of Chicago. I do think that you could tell yourself a story and try and get into game stacks because you're going to get all to Cleveland. It's just going to be impossible that you don't. And I would like to get to more Lonzo personally, but again, I'd like to see a starting lineup before I make my final decisions. I don't really care though when it comes to Lonzo. I think I'm probably going to end up playing him either way. Just see real quick. They didn't give us any Thomas Bryant. I don't know that we need to go down that far, but did want to throw that out there that it was something that I thought about earlier today. I do like Dylan Harper. He's probably my favorite piece from the Spurs, but pretty strong. Yeah, I think I'd go Harper, Vassell, then maybe, I guess just maybe Castle just because he's awesome. And then let's see what we got. We did not end up with a ton of Jalen Johnson. We ended up sort of like in between. Again, you're not going to get different with him, but it's really hard to argue against what this kid does. He's so good. And I'm a little mad I didn't stick to more of it last night. I think I had double the field with around 14%, but it would have been really nice to get all of it because I talked about it on air. I said that I thought Jalen Johnson made just a ton of sense, and I just didn't quite follow through it. And I think that again tonight, but now you're talking about 30% ownership versus 7% ownership. So, all right. So obviously we're waiting on some stuff. I'd like to, again, get some starting lineups before I make my final decisions. But as of right now, the guys who, again, you could see where my exposures are. I will probably be a little bit low. I'll probably lower Garland a little bit and probably be more in the 75 to 80% range on him, just because I think there is a path for him to bust. Jalen Tyson's going to be a difficult fade. Tomlin's a little bit like you can tell yourself a story that he just doesn't do anything while he's on the court. That's possible. Lonzo, we'd like to get more of. And then, yeah, Lonzo, Cat, Bam, Maxey are the guys who I would like to get more of that I didn't get on my build recently. So I'm probably going to force a little bit of that in. The rest of it makes a decent amount of sense. Fontecchio is interesting. I thought about that one a little bit. I think there's some merit to it. I'm happy to be a little bit above weight, but we'll see where I end up in the end. And yeah, I just wanted to give a quick little preview about tonight's slate. I'm going to get out of here and go update our subscribers, but I'm probably going to wait for starting lineups to do so because we have some speculative starting lineups. I've seen different ones other places, so I'd like to see the final ones before it's over. Anyway, appreciate all you guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hope everybody has